Good morning, children. So we'll continue from 15.3. How does oxygen becomes available to animals and plants living in water and soil? So we all know that plants and animals, they all survive only because of the oxygen, and they need oxygen for their survival. Oxygen is present in the air, but oxygen is also present in the water and the soil. Okay, because there are few animals who stay in the water and also in the soil. So how does water become available for them? Let's have a look. Activity 5. Take some water in a glass or metal container. Heat it slowly on a tripod stand. A tripod stand is a desk stand with 3 legs. Okay. And then down it's a burner, and on the stand we keep the thing which is to be heated. So you just have to heat it because it is to be done in the school, in the lab. So tripod stand is written. Well, before the water begins to boil, look carefully at the inner surface. So you can see there are dot. You know, the small bubbles are available. You can see, you can check it. Right. Do you see tiny bubbles on the inside? These bubbles come from the air dissolved in the water. So all the air is already dissolved in the water. So oxygen which they get is already dissolved in the water. Okay. So when you heat the water, to begin with, the air dissolved in it escapes. It started escaping. Okay, comes out. As you continue heating, the water itself turns into vapors and finally begins to boil. We learnt in the chapter 8 and 9 that animals living in water, they use the dissolved oxygen in water. Please underline. Those animals who stays in water, who live in water, they use the dissolved oxygen in water. Okay. So finally we know that the oxygen which is available for these animals who are living in the water is present already in the water in the dissolved form. So dissolved oxygen in water. Okay. The organisms that live in soil also need oxygen to respire, isn't it? How do the air they need for respiration? How do they get the air they need for respiration? That all we will see now. What is Paheli saying? Just have a look on Paheli's thing. Okay. So here Paheli is a question from Paheli. Will the tiny air bubbles seen before the water actually boils also appear if we do this activity by reheating boiled water kept in the airtight bottle? If you do not know the answer, you may try doing it. Thus, they are saying that if you will just heat it, then all the air will get removed, and then you keep it in a bottle. So do you think the air is still inside there? So you keep reheating, you will find the bubbles will keep coming. Okay. Moving ahead. Activity number 6. Take a lump of dry soil in the beaker or a glass, add water to it and note what happens. Do you see bubbles coming out from soil? These bubbles indicate the presence of air in the soil. If you put that you can do if you have a dry pot at home with the soil in it, you can just put water in that. You will see the bubbles come. No, they come out of the soil. So when the water is poured on the lump of soil, it displaces the air which is seen in the form of bubbles. The organisms that live inside the soil and the plant roots respire in this air. So air is also trapped in the soil. Okay. A lot of burrows and holes are formed in the deep soil by animals living in the soil. These burrows also make spaces available for air to move in and out of the soil. Okay, because they make the burrows, no. So they are making out a tunnel sort of thing. So tunnel means there's a way out and there's a way in for the air, right? In this situation, animals living in the soil have to come out for respiration. Okay, sorry. However, from here, this is important. However, when it rains heavily, water fills up in the air, in the soil. So water fills up all the spaces occupied by the air in the soil. In this situation, animals living in the soil have to come out for respiration. Okay, so when there is no air, I mean in the rainy season, the whole that tunnel sort of thing is occupied by the water. So there is no space for the air, no. So then they have to come out to respire. Could this be the reason why earthworms come out of the soil only during the heavy rains? Yes, this is the only reason, because all the tunnels made by them, they get filled up by the water and then they don't find oxygen to respire. Hence, they come out. Have you ever wondered why all the oxygen of atmosphere does not get used up, though a large number of organisms are consuming it? Who is refilling the oxygen in the atmosphere? So this is important, children. This is very important. How the amount of oxygen is being balanced. Though everybody is taking oxygen, isn't it? But still the amount of oxygen remains the same. How? Let's continue. Okay. 15.4. How is oxygen in the atmosphere replaced? In chapter number 7, we read about photosynthesis. In this process, plants make oxygen, plants make their own food and oxygen is produced along with it. Plants also consume oxygen for respiration, but they produce more of it than they consume. That is why we say that plants produce oxygen. Children, we all know that all living organisms, they consume oxygen, for respiration. Anything which is alive, they respire. And if they are respiring, they are taking oxygen inside. They are consuming oxygen inside. Other than plants, no one can produce oxygen. So plants, of course, they are alive, so they are respiring, so they are taking oxygen in. But at the same time, during the process of photosynthesis, means during the process of making the food, plants produce oxygen as a waste material. They take carbon dioxide and water, the sunlight, and then they mix up all the ingredients and then they make their food as a starch, carbohydrate. And in this process, there is a waste gas for them. I mean, it's not waste, it's a byproduct of the photosynthesis. And that gas is released. And that gas is nothing but oxygen. So during photosynthesis, which is taking place only during the sunlight. So whole daytime, during the daytime, they keep producing oxygen. So they kept producing oxygen. and they are also taking little oxygen during the respiration process. Alright. So since they are respiring, they are alive. Plants are alive. It means it's not that they will only take oxygen during the daytime. They will take oxygen till they are alive. Okay. But they produce oxygen only during the sunlight. Means the photosynthesis process takes place only in the sunlight. So the amount of oxygen they respire is very less. But the amount of oxygen they produce during the process of photosynthesis is too much. Okay. That is why we say that they produce oxygen. Of course, they are consuming. If they are producing 100%, they are consuming 5%. So will we say, what are we going to say? They are consuming? No, they are producing. So hence we say plants produce oxygen. It is obvious that animals cannot live without plants, isn't it? Because the oxygen which is being provided to us is by the plants only. So the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is maintained through respiration in plants and animals and by the photosynthesis in plants. Alright. This shows the interdependence of plants and animals. How plants and animals are dependent on each other, isn't it? They are completely dependent on each other. So, we can now appreciate how important air is for the life on earth. Are there any other uses of air? Have you heard about a windmill? Look at this picture. This is the picture of the windmill. Now we'll see some uses of the air, which is very important, okay? The wind makes the windmill rotate. First one, what is the function of the windmill? The windmill is used to draw water from the tube well or to run flour mill. Windmills are also used to generate electricity. Children, you have to draw this diagram of the windmill, okay? Air helps in movement of sailing yacht, gliders, parachutes and aeroplanes. Birds, bats and insects can fly due to the presence of air. Air also helps in dispersal of seeds and pollen of flowers of several plants. Okay, because of the air only the seeds and pollen, they get dispersed. Dispersal means moving from one place to another. So they get moved from one place to another and then they get planted. Air plays an important role in the water cycle. Okay, because air contains water vapors. So water cycle, water vapor is important, no, in the water cycle, because that vapor only goes up. It only goes up and then cools down and then it precipitates down. So air is very important for the water cycle. So children, I think we are done with the chapter. Only the last chapter is left, okay, now garbage in, garbage out. So this chapter is really very important. Okay, and I have already sent you 2 PDFs, so all the question answers of these chapters are already done. Only show me the diagram of the windmill now. Okay, see, I have I don't know whether I have told you to draw the diagrams or not. This 15.11, 15.10, this 15.9, these diagrams are really very important and you have to draw all the diagrams here. Windmill, they all are important diagrams. Okay, so please draw the diagram and show me, and then we'll continue with the next chapter in the next period.